I mean, that's what they were asking me. They said, well, can you confirm that your client was not offered anything of value to say anything about, Blake Lively?
Yeah, we some talk.
Hi, and welcome to Flawsome Talk. I'm Sashi Flaw, journalist, Hollywood truth teller, and your voice of reason in a town built on delusion. Today, I'm introducing you guys to my lawyer, the amazing John Genga, who helped me get out of the subpoena from Blake Lively's team. He took on my case. He spoke to them. He helped me out. He's amazing. And I just wanted to introduce him to everyone and ask him some questions about how his meetings went with Blake Lively's team, what he really thinks about these subpoenas, what he thinks about the Van Zandt sham lawsuit, and what he thinks went on in the deposition that Blake Lively had, or Brian Friedman had with Blake Lively the other day when Justin Baldoni showed up. Does he think that that videotape might leak? And also what he thinks is going to happen to this case moving forward. He's been working as a lawyer for over 40 years, and a lot of those years he worked in Hollywood. So I asked him, is this normal behavior in Hollywood? And you would be surprised. John Genga, my big hero at the moment. Thank you for being here on my show. You
Thanks for having me.
You saved me. So for everyone, John represented me against Blake Lively's subpoena, I guess we could say. So first time I spoke to you about the subpoena, what went through your mind when you heard about what had happened?
Well, I had heard a little bit about the case because my family is kind of following the case, my wife especially, and so I know a little bit about it. But I guess I was not surprised. I mean, I was surprised that someone would do this, but I was not surprised that Blake would do this, given how I understand this case has been litigated and the scorched earth tactics that have been used and such. So it wasn't that surprising to me.
Really? Have you heard about or experienced anything like this before, that they would go after non-parties like this behind people's backs? Because I feel like that's really what they did here.
Yeah.
Going directly to social media platforms instead of actually going to the people involved.
Well, yeah. I mean, ultimately they knew that it would come back to the people involved because the social media platforms are obligated to give notice to their users, which is what happened here. But as I understand it, it's not that hard to find out who you really are. I mean, your name is right there on your thing. I mean, you promote yourself in your videos, right? And you say, get a hold of me at this website or whatever.
Yeah.
It's probably not that hard to get a hold of you and ask you a couple of questions if they have questions. So they didn't have to do it, at least for you, and as I understand it, probably a number of the YouTubers. Probably not that hard to get a hold of these people. So I'm not sure why they did it the way they did it.
No, so you don't understand either why they did it this way.
Well, I mean, one of the reasons you might do it is, you subpoena 30 people and only 10 of them complain. So you get much more information out of those other 20. So that's one reason that you might do it. And that's not an unusual way to operate in Hollywood.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. So I think only actually 10 or 15 people have complained. And now what I heard a couple of days ago is that it's 107 content creators and journalists now. So
yeah, I don't know where that came. I mean,
it was from a hearing, I think, between Brian Friedman's company and the judge, because, they subpoenaed his company too, which I also want to talk to you about. Like,
they subpoenaed his law firm?
Yeah.
That's really unusual.
They think he is a part of the smear campaign.
Of the whole, conspiracy smear campaign thing? Yeah.
Yes, because he's been interviewed. He was interviewed on Megyn Kelly's show.
Right.
And he's been quoted in the press, which I think is quite normal in a very high-profile case.
It's not unusual, yeah.
Yeah, so then they think that he is a part of the smear campaign, and they ask for everything, like phone calls coming in and out of his office. I mean, it's insane.
Almost all that's going to be privileged or work product. You can't make a lawyer disclose all that information, and you're putting him in a difficult position because you're trying to make him. So what they're doing is they're trying to make him a witness almost in the case. to give him a conflict of interest. So it's a strategy move to really put pressure on the lawyer and to make it more difficult for him to represent his client, as forcefully as he can.
So they
So
want to.
I think I wouldn't do it. I think it's kind of a cheap shot, but that's what they're doing.
So they're trying to get rid of him, basically.
Well, I think they are. I mean, ultimately, they're trying to get rid of him. I don't think they have control over that because the client is going to decide whether, if there is a conflict, whether the client will waive it. But they can put pressure on him, and that's what they're trying to do. I don't think, by the way, Brian Freeman is one that succumbs to pressure so much. He's a pretty tough dude. So he's been around the block. He knows what he's doing. So he's not going to back down.
No,
just like you didn't back down, Kirsty.
Thank you. Thanks to you, I was able to do that. And I'm so glad that I didn't have to have a meet and confer with Blake Lively's team, because you did speak to them. And so many people have tried to get hold of them and they didn't get hold of them. And then they were offered meet and confers. And then that made people nervous because they were like, what am I going to say? What are they going to trick me into saying? Can you talk about your meeting with them, what they were like?
Usually when there's a discovery dispute, you have what's called a meet and confer process to try to resolve it. And so when I first contacted them, I said, I would like to meet and confer with you about this issue. And of course, I get no response. I had written to Ezra Hudson at Manat. I get no response. That was like in the morning. Late that afternoon, I write another email saying, listen, am I going to have to tell the judge that you refused to talk to me when I file my motion to compel and for sanctions? So 5 minutes later, I get a call from not from Ezra, but from her deputy, Sarah Moses, who was, she was fine. She was cordial. And we talked about, the subpoena just in general. And she says, well, listen, put it in writing. Tell me all your objections in writing and we'll talk about it. So I did. And then I get an email back. We're looking at this. A couple of days later, I still haven't heard what's going on. Oh, we're still looking at this. And I said, I really don't have a lot of confidence, but I'm now demanding that you withdraw the subpoena. It's been served illegally under EU law, etc. You're violating my client's right of privacy. And I gave her a drop dead date, which of course came and went, which I still hadn't heard from her. Then I get an email from an associate about a week later, says, well, we're still looking at this and we'll get back to you. And I said, well, you just told me that a week ago, and so I don't believe anything out of your law firm. And then I get an email back right away. Oh, well, let's talk. Can you talk today? Can you talk tomorrow? So we ended up getting on the phone and they said, well, we think we're going to withdraw the subpoena. So it's just they make you, they make you do a dance. And if you dance long enough, they'll stop the music, I guess. But otherwise, they keep going, and half the people whose information they subpoenaed, they'll probably get. So
what can I actually get from that information, though? What can they?
I'm not sure what they're after. I mean, at minimum, I guess they're after contact information, so they can call these people up and ask them if they've had any contact with Justin Baldoni's team. Or with anyone asking them to, or offering them any kind of compensation or anything of value to say something bad about Blake Lively. I mean, that's what they were asking me. They said, well, can you confirm that your client was not offered anything of value to say anything about, Blake Lively? I said, look, my client's been she's been a journalist for over 20 years in Hollywood, and she's a very well-respected journalist, and she would never compromise her journalistic integrity and say something that someone wants them to say just they are offering her something for it. No, that's not how it works. So,
have you heard about this term for astroturfing that they're accusing Baldoni's team of doing?
Astroturfing?
Yeah, so that's what they're saying, that you're sowing little seeds of fake information and then it starts spreading organically. So they're saying that he had a digital army that is for people to, first they spread fake information, which I haven't really seen any false information about Blake Lively. What everyone is based their reporting on is basically old interviews she's done, or, you know, facts from the legal papers.
Yeah, yeah.
So it doesn't really make.
I think the term digital army, I think they're trying to use some language that was in some of those early, emails or texts involving the publicists, and they're trying to say that this was like real, that there really is a digital army, which, I think that was kind of a figure of speech in those texts and emails.
Oh no. Well, so someone gave me this idea the other day. Someone had a theory and I was thinking about it, and I was like, could this really be what their next step might be? That they would go after people now that they have our emails, or that our full names and home addresses and phone numbers, that they could go after people in different states and do a like protective order to try and gag people from talking. Is that any possibility, you think?
Yeah, I don't. There's not a lot of return on that investment. It seems to me you got to file a bunch of cases, and no. First of all, you can't stop people from talking. We have a thing in the United States called the First Amendment. So
But they're trying.
you can't do that. You can't just put a pre-existing. It's called a prior restraint, and that's the most scrutinized kind of remedy that anyone can get. You can't ahead of time say you can't say X, Y, and Z. You can't do that. So I don't see them doing that. I think that, like I said, I think it was one of those things where they throw a bunch of stuff against the wall, see what sticks, see what they can get, and then move on. Like I said, it's not a strategy that I would have pursued, but it seems to be the way this case is going. It's sort of do something first and then ask questions later. Right?
Yeah, to build a case that's really not there. Do you think that it actually will go to court? Because every lawyer has said like, oh, this is never going to court. Only 2% of cases goes to court.
Right.
But now I feel like, is anyone going to back down at this point? Or what could happen? What do you think? Like, if you would guess from what would happen from now?
I think at some point, the trial date's not that far away. I don't see this case going to trial. I just don't. It's not going to be good for anybody. It's not. I don't think it's going to help her. I mean, she already looks so bad. And the the court of public opinion, which when I do cases, I hate the idea of the court of public opinion, because really what I'm focusing on is what really happens in court. And that's what the lawyers, in theory should be focusing on here, but really the court of public opinion does matter to her and to him. So they should get this case to a point where each side can kind of back down and say, we got what we want out of the case, and it doesn't make any sense to fight anymore, and we'll just go on with our careers, and good luck to everybody.
What's left of that? Yeah.
Well, I don't think, she did not look good. Neither did her husband, by the way, in this whole thing. But I don't think that's going to, I can't imagine that completely derails her career.
You don't think so?
But it doesn't look good. And she's going to have a lot tougher time, I think, on movie sets now, because, she's sort of built up a reputation, and it's been highlighted by this case of being kind of a bully on set and trying to take charge, and that's going to be a lot harder for her to do now, I think.
For sure. So are you familiar with this Van Zandt lawsuit that they filed to get the subpoena out to Stephanie Jones' company and get hold of the phone? They were saying that these kind of things are normal. Are they normal?
Well, they're aggressive. It's not illegal to do that. So you might, what I would normally do is just file the real lawsuit and then issue the subpoenas. But they filed a sort of a fake lawsuit in order to be able to have authority to issue the subpoenas, and then they dismissed it. I've seen that happen before. It's done a lot of times. It's done in the case of anonymous internet activity. So you file a lawsuit, you want to get the identity of those who are, or you want to get IP addresses or things like that. In this case, it's a little bit different, but it's not that unusual, but it is aggressive. And it's, again, I guess they thought that if they filed the lawsuit first and then went after the stuff, that someone would try to hide the information or something like that. So there are legitimate reasons to do it.
But it seems to me like the way they did it, they already knew what was on that phone.
Oh, they knew what they were doing. No, they knew they were kind of trying to sneak in under the radar. They knew that. That's why they did it.
Yeah, and then gave it to the LA Times. Is that really legal to just file a subpoena? So I could file a subpoena basically through a sham lawsuit on anyone's phone, and then take the phone and give it to the press. I mean, that sounds really shady?
Well, I don't think, by the way, that that issue is completely closed right now. I mean, I think there could be some issue about that. I think that who did that? Was it Stephanie Jones that did that, or somebody? Yeah, I don't think she's out of the woods on that. I don't think she's out of the woods. I mean,
I hope
there's
not. Yeah,
she's not completely out of the woods on that. I would have referred it to the DA myself.
So yesterday, Blake Lively was deposed by Brian Friedman, and Justin Baldoni showed up.
As he has the absolute right to do, by the way.
Yeah. I didn't know that this was normal, but I saw that a lot of people talked about it. Like what do you think went on in there? Do you think, did they bring, did they show the videos to see what really happened here? Did she have to explain all these things? How does these things really work for people who haven't been deposed before?
So usually at a deposition, you're not asking questions as if you're asking them at trial. You're gonna, if you're the lawyer asking the questions, you're gonna hold back a little bit and not reveal your whole case. If you're Blake, you just don't want to screw up, because you can't win a case at a deposition. There's no judge there. There's no jury there. You're not going to prove your case. You're not going to win your case. So I tell my witnesses when they're being deposed that when in doubt, shut the F up. Just, be very cautious, be very circumspect, listen to the question carefully, just answer the question that's being asked. But I'm sure that there were occasions during the deposition, we don't know yet because we don't know what happened there. But I'm sure he showed her some video where she's accusing him of doing something, and the video shows something different, and trying to get her to explain that. I'm sure they're going to want to know. They're going to want to know what her explanation is going to be at trial. So that's why they're asking those questions.
Mm.
So there's two things that can happen at a deposition, and both of them are bad if you're the witness. One is the other side the party that's asking the questions finds out something they didn't know, or they get you to say something that they're going to use against you later. So that's why you want to shut the F up as much as possible, and so when they're asking her questions, for example, if they show her a video, they do that so that they know what she's going to say at trial when she showed that video. So it's not going to surprise them.
Interesting. I wish I was a fly on the wall.
I would have enjoyed that myself, actually. Yeah. I've done hundreds of depositions, and they're boring as hell usually. This would not have been boring. And I'm sure it's on videotape, and I'm sure somewhere it's going to come out.
You think so? Because that's kind of what I was really hoping for, that somehow someone's going to sit on their phone and it's just going to fly out to the internet somewhere.
It'll get out somehow. I'm sure it's subject to protective order right now, but somehow it'll get out.
Oh my gosh, how interesting that would be. Anyway, so I just wanted to wrap this up by asking you a little bit about, because you've been working in Hollywood for many, many years. And when we spoke on the phone the first time, I was like, have you seen anything like this? And you're like, yeah, every day. So,
Well, maybe not every day, right? Maybe that was a little exaggeration, but
yeah.
it's just, yeah. So yeah, I've been doing this for a almost 40 years. If you can, I mean, I guess you can look at me and believe it's 40 years. But yeah, it's been a long time. It's been a lot of fun. There's always something new and something challenging, and which is why I like it. I like, and I don't just work in Hollywood. I did a lot more work in Hollywood years ago. I defended a lot of the motion picture studios against copyright infringement claims and such, and I still do that work. I still work, but I do more work on the talent side now than I did, and I do work for smaller companies. And everyone has a different challenge and a different, a different case, and it's always new and it's always exciting, and I've always enjoyed it. So.
And now you're connected to the Taylor Swift. I mean, you were on the Taylor Swift fan side
Right.
against Ticketmaster.
Yeah. No, that's a fun case. That's an interesting case. The great thing about that case is everyone hates Ticketmaster. So I
It's
feel
always
like
good to be on the right side.
I feel
I
like
feel
I'm on the
like,
right side of that one. So that's good.
yeah,
By the
as a
way, I've never had a
lawyer,
client who
yeah.
never believed they were absolutely right all the time. And so I got to assume the guy on the other side believes they're absolutely right. So, that's the thing. You know, you got to give the other side some credit and think, okay, my client really believes this. So the other guy must really believe that. Blake Lively probably really believes that she's been attacked and smeared. She probably believes that. In cases that I worked on defending studios, there'd be writers that would complain, "Oh, this is really my movie. I wrote this movie," and there'd be 5 other writers saying, "I wrote this movie," and all of them really believed it. So
So
you
if
got to
you
deal with the
were
facts and figure out how to best represent your client based on the facts and make your best arguments.
so if you were her lawyer now, what would you advise her to do?
What would I advise Blake to do now? Well, she's pretty much in it. I would advise her to get to a point where she feels she can exit gracefully. And there have been points along the way that I think that's happened. For example, when Baldoni's cross complaints got dismissed, she could have said right then, your case is gone. Why don't we just end this right now? You know,
I
and
was thinking that would
and
probably
everyone
happen.
cut our losses and say, look, I don't know, I have 4 kids at home. I've got a career to worry about. I don't need to be tied up in litigation. I've made my point. Let's move on.
Do you think that Blake and Ryan might be just like pushing the attorneys to do things like these subpoenas? I feel like maybe they're behind them and the lawyers might say, oh, I don't think we can get much from this, but they're like, do it anyways. We want to see what's there, or we don't care if we don't get anything.
Yeah.
We want to kind of intimidate these people. Do you think that might be
Well, that
what's
might be
happening?
going on, and that's what they're used to. They're used to getting their way in Hollywood because they're a power couple, and I don't. That could be going on. I would be surprised. I would tell Blake, if I'm her lawyer, you got to trust me. That you hire me for what I know about the law. You're not a lawyer. And not only do you hire me for what I know about the law, but you hire me for my judgment. That's the most important thing. And you should listen to me because I know what I'm talking about. You haven't been doing this for 40 years like I have. And I've gotten to the point now in my career where I just tell clients, if you're not going to listen to me, then find another lawyer. I had a case with a guy, who was trying to fight off a $200 million judgment, and I was telling him he's got to come to the table. Otherwise, it's going to keep going and going, and he's going to get in deeper trouble. He says, you know what? I've never had a lawyer tell me that. I've never had a lawyer tell me, that I've never had a lawyer do anything other than everything I've told him to do. Right? And you're telling me not to do this. And so I respect that. Okay. And I'm going to listen to you. And it turned out to be a good thing for him. So I don't know what kind of pressure Manad is under. Like I said, they're a very good firm. I've litigated cases against that firm over the years. And I mean, and the lead lawyer could be under pressure from her own management committee at the firm saying, "Hey, keep billing this case, man. We're bringing in lots of money. This is great."
I mean, they
Who knows?
definitely are.
Yeah, and I assume they're paying their bills.
What do you estimate that this could end up costing both
Oh,
parties
this
here?
is going to cost Blake Lively close to $10 million. I gotta believe.
10
I,
million?
I gotta believe they're spending between $500,000 and $1 million a month in legal fees.
Wow. And the same
Yeah,
for Justin? No, they're not spending that much.
they're
Justin
spending
Baldoni.
a lot of money too. Maybe not $500,000 a month, but well into the six figures every month.
And is there any chance for any of the parties having to cover the cost of the other parties' attorney's fees here?
Yeah, you know what? I don't think so. There might be a claim. I haven't looked back at her claims recently. There might be a statutory claim that entitles them to fees. Normally, the rule in the United States is, unlike the rule in England, for example, everyone pays their own fees unless there's a statute or a contract that says otherwise. So in England, for example, the loser always pays all the costs and fees.
You
But that's
lose
not the
and you
case in
pay.
England.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that sucks. Anyways, let's hope that Justin Baldoni doesn't have to pay our fees. That would be like tragedy.
Yeah, and there are mechanisms you can use to kind of switch that risk, but I don't know if they're doing that. I haven't seen that. Uh, I haven't seen that. But I would be surprised if they got to a point where Justin Baldoni was paying her fees. I mean, I'm sure he's threatening to have her pay his fees.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, anyways, thank you so much, John, for coming on here and explaining things a little bit.
well, I don't know how
I was
interesting it was. I hope it was interesting for your listeners. Uh, my wife told me to be energetic and not boring, and I said, "Well, you mean I can't be myself then? Okay."
You are energetic and not boring. Don't worry about it.
Okay. Well,
This was really great, and you did such a great job for me. Thank you so much.
well, you're very welcome. I'm so happy for it. And by the way, I'm really proud of you for standing up and fighting against these guys. I mean, this was
Thank
not
you.
an easy thing for you to have done. This is, you had to enter into unfamiliar turf and start dealing with lawyers. And God forbid anyone should ever have to deal with a lawyer. But you did it. You bit the bullet, and you fought back, and they backed down when you did that. So that was good. It's a smart thing to do. And
Thanks to you.
you can always call me, by the way. So
Thank you. Thank you so much to John for being here on my show. If you're interested in finding out more about his law firm, there's a link in my description. There's also more information there about the Ticketmaster/Taylor Swift fans case. And I'll put his email below as well. So if you ever need an attorney that you know is going to do a great job and that's being honest with you and actually gives you good advice, then you can send an email to John Genga. Anyways, you guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate all your support, as you know. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do and hit the notification bell so you don't miss an episode of Flawsome Talk. And I'll see you not so soon because I'm going to Norway today. So I won't be posting for a few days at least. I will put my podcast up on Friday. It's an amazing episode. So please stay tuned for that. And if something very special happens, I will jump on and create an episode from Norway. Anyways, take care, everyone. Bye.
Yeah, we fought some talk.